The night the wall held became the morning the wall had to be fed. Word had run faster than any horse. The ramparts stood when the crown ran, and so they came, from Greymoor, from the erased villages, from the fled towns. Everyone the kingdom had stopped counting, walking toward the one place that had not abandoned them.
Families with little ones to the inner yard, it's warmer. Anyone who can carry. Anyone who can cook, the fires need hands. We are not a mob. We are a town now, so let's act like one.
I knew how to hold the gate, Mira. I don't know how to feed 9,000 people through a winter. Nobody taught me that part.
Nobody teaches anybody that part. You learn it the same way you learned the gate, one impossible morning at a time.
Rain for maybe 3 weeks if nobody eats enough. The winter's 8 weeks at least. Every full granary in the realm is east. Behind the crown, behind Malvane, behind the road we don't hold. The numbers don't close. Aldric, I've run them till my eyes bled and they don't close. Then we don't solve it as numbers. We solve it as people. Who's the nearest lord with grain who didn't run east? Nobody. They all ran. Except the small folk hid caches. Seed grain, buried against a bad year. They have to give up next year's planting to feed this winter. That's not a tax you can order. That's a thing people have to choose.
They had buried the dead with their names said out loud, as Aldric had promised. Dorne's grave was the gap itself. There had not been enough of him to move. The old commander had wanted the wall to remember, and the wall did, one hand on a planted sword at a time.
Reach on the third span. It's just spawn. Small ones, but the wall's still full of holes. Val, on me? Broken arm and all. Let's go.
The god was healing in the blight, but its lesser children still leaked through the wall's wounds every day. There was no clean pause after the great night. There was only a broken wall, a hungry town, and a squad of tired people who kept running toward the horn because they were the only ones who would.
You don't have to come up here.
Yes, we do. That's the whole point, Aldric. You held the wall for us. Now it's ours to help hold. That's not charity going up these stairs. That's a town.
And then the East remembered the wall existed, not to help it, to own it. The crown had finished running, looked back, seen that the thing it abandoned had become the only power still standing, and sent its cleverest snake to put a collar back on it.
So this is what a hero builds. A slum against a wall. How very inspiring. Fetch the Viscount. Tell him the crown of Old Mirian has come to reclaim what is its own.
Malvane, you rode 3 days east from this wall while it burned. Now you've ridden 3 days back. Couldn't decide which way the danger was.
I rode with my king to preserve the seat of the realm. Someone had to. You were busy performing by the seal of King Haildar. The rampart of Ashfall and all its stores and garrison are crown property to be administered by crown officers. The so-called Ashen Vow is disbanded as an unlawful private host, and the Viscount Aldric Corvath will stand down, surrender the wall, and answer at court for raising arms against his king.
A writ is a rectangle of calfskin with a blob of gold wax on it, and it has toppled more men than any sword, because men agree to be afraid of it long after they have stopped being afraid of the king who sealed it. Malvane held it up like a blade, and for the first time in his life, he watched a crowd fail to flinch.
The king disbands the men who held his wall when he wouldn't. He reclaims stores that are empty because his granaries are all east behind you. And he summons me for treason, for the crime of not letting 9,000 people die on schedule. Do I have the writ right?
You have it exactly right. That is rather the point of a writ. It does not have to be fair. It only has to be obeyed. And here is the part I did not write down. The eastern road is closed on my order. Every grain of the realm's winter store sits behind me. Obey the writ, kneel, disband, come to court, and the road opens and your slum eats. Refuse, and you may keep your wall and your title and your legend, and watch every soul in that camp starve on principle before the first snow. Your choice, hero. It always was.
So we take the road. He's got, what, 200? We held a god. We march east. We take the granaries. We take the whole rotten court while we're at it. The people would follow you to the capital tomorrow and you know it. He's not wrong. Say the word and half the kingdom's at your back by spring. You'd be king by summer, and a better one than the coward hiding behind that writ.
It was the dangerous moment, not the god at the gate, this. The night the frightened come to a good man and say, "Rule us, take it. You would be better than what we have." And part of him wanted to, and for the best of reasons, which is exactly what makes it the oldest trap in the world.
Every liberator stands one bad morning from becoming the thing he threw down. You march east to feed them, and it works, and it feels righteous. And in 10 years you're a man on a throne ordering other walls held by other nobodies while you sit warm. I've watched it happen to better men than you. The wall or the crown, Aldric. You don't get both and stay yourself.
I know, I have known since he enrolled the writ. I just needed to hear someone say the price out loud.
Nobody in that camp asked you to be their king. I've been out there all day. You know what they ask for? To matter, to not be a blank space on some lord's map. That's smaller than a crown and they've never once had it. Don't give them a king, Aldric. Give them the thing they actually asked for.
He did not march east. He did not kneel. He found the third door, the one Malvane had been certain did not exist, because men like Malvane cannot imagine a person who wants neither the leash nor the throne, only the wall.
Count Malvane brings a writ that says this wall is the crown's. Fine, let the crown have the word. I never wanted it, but I'm going to tell all of you a truer thing. And every soldier he brought is standing close enough to check it against his own memory. 6 nights ago a god the size of the gatehouse broke this gate. The king was 3 days east by then, with the cavalry and the grain and the gold. Where were you, soldiers of the crown? Ask yourselves. You were guarding carriages, and these people, farmers, scouts, a boy with a broken arm, held the wall that keeps your families alive.
You cannot argue a man out of a fear he was paid to hold, but you can stand a frightened soldier in front of the truth and let him do his own arithmetic. Every man Malvane had brought was doing it now, and the sum was not coming out in the Count's favor.
This is sedition. He speaks prettily and it changes nothing. The seal is the seal. The road is closed, and sentiment does not fill a granary. Soldiers, take him. That is a royal command.
A lie needs everyone to keep agreeing to it. The truth only needs one person to say it out loud in a courtyard full of people who were there. Malvane gave the order, and in the long, terrible silence that followed, not one soldier moved, because every one of them had just done the arithmetic and come up ashamed.
Nobody's arresting anybody, and nobody's marching on the capital either. Put that out of your heads. Here's the whole of it. This wall belongs to no one. Not the crown, not me. It belongs to whoever will bleed to hold it. The gate is open to any soldier who wants to actually defend the realm instead of a carriage, to any lord who will send grain instead of writs, to anyone at all. Owned by none. Held they all. That's the only crown this wall will ever wear.
They crossed the yard one at a time, the way courage always moves through a crowd, not in a flood, but in single acts, each one braver for the last. Malvane had come to collect a wall. He watched, instead, as the wall quietly collected his men.
You're welcome here, all of you. Same bread, same wall, same watch. No kneeling required.
You clever, low-born animal. You think you've won a yard. You've made an enemy of the throne itself, and thrones do not forget being made small in front of soldiers. I'll ride east, and I will not come back with a writ next time. I'll come back with an army. There will be no king of the wall. I will burn the idea out of the realm.
I'm not a king, Malvane. That's the part you'll never survive not understanding. Ride safe. The road's dangerous, full of people you left to die.
The Count rode east with his writ and his wounded pride and half the soldiers he came with. And pride wounded in front of soldiers is the most dangerous cargo in the world, because it will spend anything, any life, any city, to feel large again. Aldric had made a lifelong enemy that morning. He had also, without touching a crown, become the thing the enemy most feared, a wall that did not need one. If the wall don't hold this winter, there is no spring to plant in, lad. We buried it against a bad year. This is the bad year. Feed the wall.
This is your seed grain, next year's planting. If you give me this, you don't plant in spring.
Pell's numbers had not closed when they were attacks. They closed the moment they became a choice. 9,000 people who had never once been asked to matter chose, sack by buried sack, to feed the wall that had chosen them first. It was not enough for a comfortable winter. It was enough for a held one.
He'll be back with that army. You know that. You beat his lie today, but a beaten liar with a throne behind him just reaches for a bigger stick.
I know. Human trouble from the east. The god's still out there in the west, with a wall between two kinds of ending now.
That's what a wall is, Aldric. You're just the first one in 100 years to notice.
Well, Rick, Wes, I was doing the dusk sweep and, look, it's brighter than last week. A lot brighter. It's healing, faster than we hoped.
Far out in the blight the ember brightened by a degree, the way a banked fire brightens when a sleeper turns over. A wounded god went on healing and remembering a name. The wall had bought a winter. It had not bought forever. Nothing ever does. A crown had run and a wall had stood, and a low-born viscount had refused both the leash and the throne and kept, instead, the one thing that was actually his to keep. The court would send an army, the god would send itself, and between the two endings, on a broken wall it owned for no one and held for everyone, a Crownless knight banked his fires and sharpened his chipped, faintly glowing blade, and waited for the worst the world had left to send. Ironveil, Episode 6, The Crownless Wall. He would not wear a crown. He would only be the wall no crown could do without.
Rebuild the gate, feed the town, train anyone who'll hold a spear. Malvane brings an army from the east, that thing heals in the west, and we're the wall in the middle. So let's be a wall worth the name. Dorn held it 30 years for this. We hold it for whoever comes next.